Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. It means everything to me. Before we get started, I just wanted to say to everybody that has been reaching out to me, showing me support, I appreciate you so much. When I tell you I appreciate you, I truly, truly mean it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Please leave me a comment. Please leave me a like. It would mean so much to me. You guys are just the best, and I thank you, thank you, thank you.
Pila Atroshi was born on October 12, 1979. She was the oldest of 7 children. She was of Iraqi descent but grew up in Farsta, Sweden. Pila was described as a sociable and popular girl who thrived in school. Their father put strict rules on the girls to make sure that he prevented them from living the European way. Their father put strict rules on the girls to make sure that he prevented them from living the European way. They were not allowed to go to shops or cafes, and their father would time them to make sure that they came home right after school. Pila began to challenge her father's rules, as most teenagers do. Lord knows I did. She wanted to make her own decisions about where she went and what she wore. But this only made Ajid enforce stricter rules. The girls were banned from parties and school trips. As a result of this, the fights between Pila and her father began to escalate. And they continued to escalate up until Pila decided that she had had enough and moved out of the house. An unmarried female staying out of the home is extremely frowned upon, and Pila's younger sister Breen claimed that her uncle has even stated that sleeping away from home for even one night deserved death. After Pila moved out of the home, her grandfather and uncle traveled from Australia to Sweden to meet with Pila's father and other uncles to discuss how they should deal with Pila's behavior. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women reported that a family council of male relatives living in Sweden and Australia decided that Pila had to die to cleanse the family honor. Pila would eventually come home on her own because she missed her family. Unbeknownst to her, her father, grandfather, and uncles had already put a plan into place to cleanse the family honor. And it was going to be done in Iraq, where the family was well respected and where honor crimes were treated leniently. June 24th, 1999, Pila was taken to Iraq, where her family claimed that they wanted to arrange a suitable marriage for her. Pila would be shot twice in the back in an upstairs room of the family home. Pila's sister would later testify that she and her mother attempted to run to her aid, but were physically held back by her father and uncles, while her uncles shot her through the head. In October of 1999, Pila's father and uncle stood trial for her murder. Her father admitted to the murder right away, saying that he had to cleanse the family of her dishonor. They each received a 12-month suspended sentence. No need to adjust your volume. You heard that correctly. They received 12 months in jail for Pila's murder. After receiving the suspended sentence, Rezkar and his brothers returned to Sweden. Pila's sister Breen contacted the Swedish authorities. Because the murder was planned in Sweden, and because they are Swedish citizens, the authorities decided to charge the brothers in a Swedish court. In December of 2000, Pila's father and uncle stood trial for her murder. Breen was a witness for the prosecution. The courts found that the brothers planned and carried out the murder together. January 12, 2001, Rezkar and his brothers were found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. In 2004, 19-year-old Arash Zarin was a friendly, funny, outgoing teen. He would greet strangers without hesitation and was extremely intelligent. Right before he was about to leave for school to study electrical engineering, he met and fell in love with Mana Begum. Arash's mother begged them to slow down, even telling her son that she would support their marriage after he earned his degree. But before that could happen, Mana fell pregnant. The couple would usually meet by Mana's house, with Arash never actually going to her home. On November 20th, 2004, Arash left his mother's home just before 9 p.m. to go pick up Mana. But when he arrived at the pickup spot, instead of seeing Mana, he saw her father and 2 brothers, Omir Ali
19-year-old Muhammad and 16-year-old Manor, and they knew about the pregnancy. They grabbed Amor and stabbed him 46 times. He would be found later that evening dead in his car. Arash's killers were arrested and found guilty in 2005, but they've never apologized for their crimes, believing that they did nothing wrong because they were defending their honor. When 18-year-old Zanat Rafiq told her family that she wanted to marry the man of her choice, 20-year-old Hassam Khan, her widowed mother was not happy about it. Zanat's mother, Praveen, told her that she brought shame to the family and beat her until she bled. See, Praveen's two older daughters had already married the man of their choice, and neighbors said Praveen complained about it for months. Zanat was Rafiq's last chance to save her honor, and she had already planned an arranged marriage for her. In May of 2016, Zanat and Khan went to a courthouse and wed. After the wedding, Zanat moved into Khan's home with him. 4 days later, on June 8th, 2016, Zanat's mom and her uncle came over to the house. They told them that they wanted to reconcile and throw the couple a proper wedding. Zanat was unwilling to go back home at first and told her husband that if she went home, she would be killed by her family. But when one of her uncles guaranteed her safety, Zanat decided to go. After 2 days at her mother's house, Zanat would call her husband and tell him that her family had gone back on their word and ask him to come get her. He told Zanat to wait for the promised 8 days, but Zanat would not make it through those 8 days. Praveen and her brother choked Zanat, but didn't kill her. She then doused her daughter in kerosene and lit her on fire. After Zanat had passed, Praveen went to her rooftop and screamed, quote, "I have killed my daughter. I have saved my honor. She will never shame me again," end quote. It's just disgusting. That is disgusting. Oh my God, that makes me so angry. How could somebody do this to their child? All while Zanat's charred remains lay underneath her. Perveen admitted to the murder, saying that Zanat brought shame to the family. A court in Pakistan sentenced Perveen to death and sentenced her brother to life in prison. Neighbors outside of Perveen's home all agreed that Perveen was driven to kill Zanat and should go free, with one neighbor saying, quote, "Daughters are duty-bound to maintain the honor of the family. It is better to have no children than to have a daughter who brings you shame," end quote. Not true, by the way. Not true. Sorry, one last thing. This picture right here, this is Zanat's husband, and this is Zanat's grave, and he is putting rose petals on his wife's grave. So I want to include this for you guys to see, because I just think it's so tragic and it's so sad, but there's also something so sweet and sentimental about it. But I didn't want you to be like, what the hell is this? So that's what this is. He is putting rose petals on his wife's grave in this.
18-year-old Zinat Rafiq, burned to death by her mother and brother simply for marrying a man against her family's wishes. It's the latest horrific example of a so-called honor killing in Pakistan. Hassan Khan, the victim's 19-year-old husband, buried his bride early Thursday after her own family refused to claim the body. Khan says they had dated secretly for 5 years, but Rafiq feared her family would kill her if they knew, so a little less than 2 weeks ago the couple eloped and moved away. Then this week, Rafiq returned to her family home in Lahore. Khan tells CNN his wife was led to believe the family wanted a reconciliation and that she was promised no harm would come to her.
Her cousin gave the guarantee that nothing would happen to her. We were not sending her otherwise.
But there was no homecoming. Instead, police say Rafiq's mother and brother tied her down, poured gasoline over her, and set her on fire. According to CNN affiliate Geo News, an autopsy shows Rafiq had been strangled, but was still alive when she was set ablaze. Afterwards, witnesses say the victim's mother, Parveen Rafiq, ran into the street shouting that she had killed her daughter. She is now in police custody. Authorities say she has expressed no remorse.
She was supposed to come home today. They killed her a day before. We went to her house, and her burnt body was lying on the stairs.
Khan and his family say they were devastated. His mother tells CNN Rafiq was like a daughter to her.
There should be justice. How could they be so heartless and kill this girl? She was our child now. She had married our son.
Sadly, this is only the latest in a long list of honor murders. More than 1,000 women were killed by family members in Pakistan last year alone, according to the country's independent Human Rights Commission. And activists say while progress has been made, a lot more still needs to change.
The problem is that the entire prosecution system of the country is a mess. And that's as true of honor killings as it is on cases of terrorism.
Pakistan's prime minister has condemned these brutal crimes in the past, but so far his government has taken no new actions to stop the killing. Clarissa Ward, CNN, London.
This is a safe house for women who fled violence at the hands of their own families. Anisa, not her real name, is in hiding from her parents. They've threatened to kill her because they believe she shamed the family honour by leaving her violent husband.
If your parents found you, what do you think the consequences would be?
I think they would hurt me. I think they could possibly kill me.
What makes you think your family may kill you if they found you?
People are pointing fingers at them. People are saying that I'm the bad person. So I'm really scared they're going to find me and they're going to take me back. And if I refuse, then they'll kill me.
So-called honour crimes mainly occur in South Asian, Middle Eastern and North African communities, where a woman's behaviour can be seen as key to preserving a family's honour. Since 2010, more than 11,000 cases of honour-based violence have been recorded by police in the UK. Last year alone, there were more than 2,000 incidents. These include abductions, beatings, and even murders.
Her husband attempted to kill her with an axe.
Campaigners believe this is a growing problem.
We need to break this silence of the community. We need to isolate those who are practicing honor killing, who are beating up their children, who are forcing their children into marriage.
Do you see the situation getting any better?
It will get better if we have a national strategy plan for all the authorities, because honor-based violence is about life and death.
It's thought that the figures don't show the full extent of the issue. Many honour crimes are going unreported because the perpetrators are usually the victims' own families. Divya Talwar, BBC News.
Noor Amaleki was born on February 18, 1989. She was an Iraqi-American living in Phoenix, Arizona. At school, Noor was known as a friendly, fun, outgoing person who made friends very easily. She played tennis, she liked Chipotle and Keanu Reeves. She wore dark jeans, jeweled sandals, and tops from Forever 21. She was pretty much your typical teenager. Her home life was much different and much darker, though. She had to be very subservient and was often forced to take care of her 6 other siblings. Her 49-year-old father, Falal, was very controlling and domineering. He forbid her from socializing with boys, wearing jeans, or posting photos of herself on MySpace. Remember MySpace? I had MySpace. If Noor did not follow all rules, she risked being beat. Noor's father made it very clear that this is how she would live until she married the man that he chose for her in his homeland of Iraq. Not surprisingly, these were not Noor's plans for her life. Noor had dreams of becoming a teacher, marrying a man she loved, and most importantly, being able to make her own decisions. In the spring of 2009, Noor had a job and was able to save up enough money to move into her own apartment. Also in the spring of 2009, Noor would lose her job to her family consistently showing up at her place of employment. In June of 2009, Noor left the home again and moved in with Amal Al-Abadi and her family. The Al-Abadi and Al-Mekki family fled Iraq together many years ago, but the families have since had a falling out because Noor's parents did not approve of the fact that the Al-Abadis began to embrace the Western culture. During her stay at the Al-Abadi's home, Noor and Amal's son Marwan would begin dating. Noor would confide in Marwan that when her parents took her to Iraq in 2008, They took her passport and told her that she couldn't come back home unless she married and consummated her marriage with her father's much older cousin. Falal was an alcoholic gambler and had a substantial amount of debt because of it. So he essentially sold Noor for a dowry to pay off his gambling debt. Yep. Wait, let me wrap my head around this. He sold his daughter to his cousin to pay off a gambling debt. Can you imagine that? Sorry, this gets me so mad. These get me so angry. This all took place during the U.S.-Iraq war, and her parents took her there while the whole city was under attack. Noor would go on to tell Marwan that during the bombings, she would stand in the middle of the house and hope that a bomb would fall by the house and kill her. Noor and Marwan bought 2 parakeets as a symbol of their love. Noor picked out the male and Marwan picked out the female, and they named them Noor and Marwan. After Noor moved in with the Alabadis, Noor's parents began sending them threats via text, email, and MySpace messages. July 2009. Noor's parents show up at the Alabadi home demanding she come with them. Amal calls the police to have them escorted out. During this, Falal tells the officers, "I don't care if I spend the rest of my life in prison. I will not tolerate my daughter dishonoring me." 1 month after the incident with police, Noor's parents take a different route and turn to black magic and witchcraft. Noor's mother, Sihan, would begin to cast spells to bring Noor home and to wish bad things on the families that were helping her. She even went as far as to have a voodoo doll for Noor in her bedroom. October 20th, 2009. Noor would accompany her boyfriend's 43-year-old mother, Amal, to the Arizona Department of Economic Security. Amal needed to complete a change of address form and needed Noor with her to help translate. While Noor and Amal were waiting for their number to be called, Noor's father, Falal, walked into the DES building. At 1:06 p.m., Noor texted her friend. "Dude," she wrote, "my dad is here at the welfare office." Noor sent a second text message to another friend that said, "Dude, I'm so scared shit. At the welfare place, and guess who walks in? My dad. I'm so shaky." To which her friend replies, "Holy shit, did he see you?" "Oh dear, that's awkward. What's up with your parents anyway?" To which Noor replies, "My dad is a manipulative a-hole. I've honestly never met anyone like that. So evil." Amal watched Falal take a number and sit near her and Noor. He spent 5 minutes talking to his son-in-law on his cell phone, then phoned a male relative in Detroit, and then left without incident. At 1:32 p.m., Noor sent a final text to her friend, and she seemed much more relaxed, writing, "What time do you get out of work? Are you going to have time to meet?" Amal's number would finally be called, and her and Noor would take several minutes to finish everything. After they were done, Amal wanted to check the parking lot for Falal's car, but Noor didn't seem very concerned about it, saying her dad might spit on her if given the chance, but nothing more than that. Still, Amal wanted to check, so she told Noor to stay inside. She stepped outside and the coast seemed clear, but when she went over to her car, she accidentally locked her keys inside of it. So she phoned her son, who was also Noor's boyfriend, and asked him to take the 20-minute drive to meet her and give her the spare keys. October 20th was a sunny 85-degree day. Noor was thirsty, and since they had a 20-minute wait anyway, she suggested that they go get a drink at a nearby Mexican restaurant. So Noor and Amal walked west on the sidewalk and then started to cross the lot. Seemingly out of nowhere, Amal sees a 2000 silver gray Jeep Cherokee coming straight at them with Falal behind the wheel, and almost in an instant smashed right into the 2 women. Noor was dragged across a curbed median and left splayed out on the pavement, unconscious and bleeding. Amal was hurled 27 feet. She suffered a broken pelvis, broken femur, and a myriad of cuts and bruises, but somehow managed to not lose consciousness. Like, lucky. So lucky. Noor was barely alive, having suffered massive brain and spinal injuries, along with several broken bones. Falal sped out of the parking lot and immediately called his wife, his son Ali, and at least 2 other members of his extended family. 3 Peoria police went to the Amaleki home about 3 hours after the attack. Noor's brother Ali answers the door. He tells detectives that he hadn't spoken to his father since mid-morning. He went on to explain to detectives how Noor had dishonored the family after returning from Iraq. Ali would then change his story and say that he had spoken to his father at 2:30 p.m., about a half an hour after the incident, but that he didn't remember the substance of the conversation. Conveniently. Ali then told police that he had seen the news coverage and asked where Noor was hospitalized, but detectives refused to tell anyone where Noor was hospitalized for fear that someone may come to finish the job, and officers would soon find out that they had made a very wise choice. Detectives then contacted Noor's mother. She told officers that all she knew was that there was some sort of family problem of an unspecified nature. Detective Bill Lang then told Noor's mother, Siham, that her husband slammed into Noor and Amal with his Jeep and fled. Siham told Lang that Amal was a liar and that her and her family were dirty. She would steadfastly deny speaking to her husband about the incident. Detective Lang would then tell Siham that Noor's condition was grave, to which she replied, "I want to see my daughter," but officers refused. Siham would then begin shouting, "I'm a danger, I'm a Muslim, we can't kill our daughter." October 21st, 2009. Officers issue a warrant for Falal's arrest for 2 counts of aggravated assault, but by then, Falal was already across the Mexican border. October 22nd, 2009. A Glendale pharmacist would call police and tell them that someone had phoned in a prescription for Falal al-Maleki. They would later tell police that a young man and woman, possibly of Mid-Eastern descent, showed up wearing a veil to pick up Falal's diabetes medication. Al-Maleki would remain a fugitive while Noor clung to life. October 26, 2009. Detectives would show back up to the Al-Maleki home to speak with Ali and his mother Siham once again. Except this time, they had examined phone records that showed that Falal had been in touch with his immediate family around the time of the attack. Siham then admitted that she lied about not speaking to her husband, but promised she had no idea where he currently was. She would also admit that her and Ali were indeed the ones that picked up the prescription for Falal, but insisted that she threw the pills out the car window, but couldn't give officers a reason for doing so, because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. She would go on to blame her one-time friend Amal for what happened in the DES parking lot, saying that, wait for it. You ready? Are you ready for this one? Guys, I'm sorry. These get me so angry. I don't know why. They get me so mad. Saying that Amal got what was coming to her because she was the matriarch of a family flushed with drug abusers and thieves.
In the early stages of the investigation, the call shows police couldn't trust anyone and kept the daughter's location guarded.
Until he is located, we're not mentioning where she's at.
I want to see her.
Well, that's not possible at this point.
Worried about Noor al-Maleki's safety, Peoria police would not even tell her own mother where she was at.
Why? I'm a danger?
Huh? Well, you could be.
Police recorded this phone call with Noor's mother shortly after her husband ran over their daughter and her boyfriend's mother. At one point during the call, Noor's mother defended her husband's actions.
Your daughter is about close to dying.
Close to die?
Yes, she's in critical condition.
Tell her thank you, Amal. Thank you. That's what she needs. She needs to protect this family. That's what she needs.
You're a sick individual.
With her husband still on the run, police say those comments justified them guarding Noor's location from her family, despite repeated pleas from Noor's mother asking to see her daughter.
I want to see my daughter.
You just sat there and told me that everything that happened to them was okay. And now all of a sudden you have concern for your daughter. No.
October 27, 2009. British customs officials informed U.S. immigration authorities that Falal was in custody in London. He had arrived on a plane from Mexico City using his own name and his own U.S. passport. Genius. Falal was put on a plane and shipped back to the U.S. October 28, 2009. Mexican authorities contacted Peoria police to let them know that they had located Falal's Jeep and that Falal's Jeep was in perfect working order, which means that Falal would not be able to use the excuse that something happened with the car and that's why his daughter and her boyfriend's mother. Crime scene investigators later found hair, fiber, and human tissue on and under the front bumper of the vehicle. October 29, 2009. Peoria detectives finally get to sit across from the suspect. Al-Maleki waives his Miranda rights against self-incrimination, which means authorities could have at him. At first, Falal tells detectives that he ran over the women in a freakish accident after coincidentally finding them at the DES office, saying, quote, "If I want to try to kill my daughter, why would I kill my daughter with a vehicle? I have no problem with my daughter. This is not the first time she left the house. If I want to kill her, I go buy a gun. I know where they live. I just lost control of the car." End quote. Detective Bowie asks Falal whether or not he had been trying to scare the women, to which Falal responds, "Might be something like this, but I don't try to kill them. I've been angry and I lost control. I lost the brain." You're right, you did lose your brain, you fucking asshole. These get me so angry. I think because it's like parents are doing this to, how do you do this to your child? These get me so mad. They get me so angry, guys. I'm sorry, they get me so mad. Just like his wife, Falal faulted Amal for what happened, claiming that she stole his daughter from him. He insists that he loves Noor, noting that his cell phone contains several photos of her, as if that was some self-evident truth. Falal said his daughter should not have become so Americanized, that was wrong. Detective Bowie then asked Falal whether his family was on his side, suggesting that perhaps the attack had restored some sort of honor that was supposedly lost by Noor's lifestyle choices. Falal does not reply directly, but does say that he would certainly help a friend or family member in a similar predicament. It's our culture, he explains. Falal then asks Detective Bowie what he would do if he had such a disobedient daughter, to which Bowie responds that he would not crush his daughter with a car. Falal then goes on to tell Detective Bowie, "If your house has got a fire in just part of the house, do we let the house burn or do we try to stop the fire?" So Detective Bowie asks Falal if Noor was that tiny fire. Falal realizes that he's incriminating himself, says no, insisting that it was an accident. While in jail, detectives listened to Falal's phone calls. Recordings would prove that this was indeed intentional and premeditated, with Noor's mother telling Falal, "You did it too soon. We didn't plan this out well enough." I can't wrap my head around this. 1 month after the attack, Noor was clinically brain dead. She suffered cardiac arrest, septic shock, infections, and doctors had to ask Noor's family if they want her to be taken off of life support. Legally, as fucked up as it is, Noor's mother, Siwan, the person that helped put her there, was legally the person that had to make the decision, and there was nothing that anybody could do about it. And not surprisingly, she decided to take Noor off of life support. So Noor was pronounced clinically brain dead on November 2nd at 7 a.m., and by 11:54 a.m., her heart had stopped beating. Police noted at Noor's autopsy that her eyes, so hauntingly beautiful in photographs, were swollen shut. Days later, a Maricopa County grand jury indicted Falal on charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, and leaving the scene of an accident. After Noor's death, her boyfriend Marwan entered into a life of crime and is actually incarcerated in the Arizona Department of Corrections. Also after her death, Noor's parakeet Marwan ended up escaping, and Marwan's parakeet Noor ended up passing away.
Who ran down his daughter because she was becoming too westernized will likely never walk out of prison. Tonight, 50-year-old Faleh Al-Maleki is starting a 34-year sentence. ABC 15's Angie Holdsworth is following this honor-killing trial. And Angie, the judge was very unforgiving in his comments despite Al-Maleki's tearful apology.
That's absolutely right. In fact, the judge even went so far as to liken Al-Maleki to Saddam Hussein. Now, the defense tried to argue mitigating circumstances based on his age and his poor health. However, the judge said it's one of the worst cases that's passed his bench since he's been on the bench.
Your Honor, I'm apologize.
An emotional defendant speaking out for the first time in court, breaking down over his actions and the pain he caused so many.
I'm sorry, Noor, what I did. I'm very sorry, Noor.
The judge unmoved. With testimony from one of Fala al-Maliki's victims, prosecutors pushed for the maximum sentence. Al-Maliki was convicted of second-degree murder for the death of his daughter Noor and aggravated assault for the injuries he caused to her boyfriend's mother. Prosecutors argued he ran the pair down in this parking lot because his daughter dishonored his family by becoming too westernized. The emotion raw from Noor's boyfriend, who shouted out during the proceedings and was let out in tears. The 34.5-year sentence is a little shy of the 46-year maximum he could have received.
It'll be a natural life sentence for this defendant given his age, and so we are satisfied.
A sentence in a horrific case where the pain lingers for a senseless loss.
Okay, guys, if you're still here with me, thank you so much. It means everything to me. It really does. Please let me know what you thought of this one. Did you like it? Have you heard about any of these girls before? Which story horrified you the most? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm really, really curious, actually. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It really helps me out, especially since I'm so small. And until next time, thank you so much. I love you all.